Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on same topic of exception. So this is the third video on playlist, and yes, we are doing advanced topics in Python. So we have seen types of exceptions, what exceptions are, how they're handled, catch. In the Python it is called except, and also the finally keyword. We have seen everything. So now what is left is that user defined exceptions and logging. So we all know that all of the exceptions are defined in a class called exception. Exception common base class for non-exit exceptions. So this is what is the definition of exception class is present in Python, and we are defining our own class called myException. What this my class is going to do is that it is going to have a constructor called message, which is going to take an argument. We can write any single thing, we can write anything, but what we are going to check is that is the pin code of the area valid. So in India, all the pin codes are of the size 6. So that is what I'm going to check, that if user is entering any specific number of pin code, it should have a length of 6 digits or 6 characters. If it increases that, it should raise an exception. I repeat, it should raise an exception. You must be saying that why we are raising an exception. We can also say if else, but this is a very simple example. Suppose you are writing a very big software. At that time, this exception raising part will come so much handy for you, so that no invalid data or no invalid conditions can be passed using any bypass method, or any corner conditions won't be left if you will be using exceptions. So what is going to happen is that it is going to check length. If length is not equals to 6, that means it can be even greater than, or it can be less than. So in all of those cases, it will raise an exception that the length of pin can only be 6 characters. And after that, we are passing it as a string, and this is having like 7 characters. First, what let's just do is that let's just pass it with 6 characters, and then we are just try check pin. This check is defined in this exception, and we are not making object at this time, because this is part of just one class, and we can run this way. So and then my exception as me, and then it will print me. We can just say my exception as E and then print it as E. So let's just run this program line by line, and the class is being defined, the init function is being defined, check is being defined, and now our our pin is now a string of 482001. And then we are going into the try block, which is going to call check, and the check is having a parameter pin. That pin becomes pin code, and if the length is not equals to 6, in this case it is 6. So it will just check it, and no error, no exception was raised. What we are going to do now is that we are going to increase the length of pin by 1, and just fast forward a little bit to the part of when the code is in our check pin, and now it will raise an exception. The pin of the length can be of the length 6 characters only. So it just went to check pin, and this block is in try. So what will happen is that exception went, my exception was raised, so it will just print the whatever output is. The length of pin can only be 6 characters. That's it. This is how you define your own exceptions. You can make your own classes about this. You can literally do anything in programming languages like C, C++, Java. You don't have like things like this. When we saw operator overloading, we saw that how we can change the functionality of addition, sum, addition operator to anything that we want. Like these are very small things that make Python so much versatile and so much useful in 21st century that people like me just love it. And now what we are going to do is that we are going to log the errors. Why logging is important? Because suppose that again, writing a big program, some exceptions are there, some warnings are there, some information is there. So we just want a file to be there with all the logs and be there. So just to show you guys, an error that crashes the application should have priority, then a warning, so the system is given below. Let me just clarify that part for you, or maybe cut that part again. An error that crashes the app should have priorities. That means if suppose our bug is just causing a crash of our application, it is a critical error. If it is just a normal error saying that we have used undefined variables, then it is just an error, some serious thing. If we have declared something and not used it, we are just wasting some memory, but no logical error, so it should just have a warning. If there is something that we should know, it is just an information. If we are debugging it, then it is a debug, and not set is having 0. So this is the value of all the priorities that are there in Python. And what we are going to do, let's just dive straight into the code. So we are having a library called logging, and we are going to do is that logging.baseconfig, and then we are going to define a file name. This file name is going to be test logs.txt. If you can name it anything, it will be created. And what we are going to do is that we are going to set a level, that logging.error. So what is priority of error? Let's just see it here. Error is serious and has priority level of 40. So only all the errors that are above 40, means critical errors and errors, will be stored in this block. If we say info, then info, warning, error, critical, all of them will be stored in that log. So what we are having, we are defining logging.error as there is an error in the program, and what we are defining critical as that there is a problem in the design. And what other things are, what other messages are, that logging.warning, this program is slow, we are just warning the user. Information is that you are just a junior programmer, not a senior developer, because if you were, you won't be watching my videos over the YouTube. So if you are a senior developer and still watching, do let me know in the comments. I will be like, wow man, congratulations. And logging.debug, some lines with some line has error, that is just our debug part. So let's just run this and see what happens. At this moment what we are having is that we have got text logs.txt, and what just happened is that you can see error and critical message are already here. Nothing else is here because we specified that only take level of logging that is above error, that is priority is more than 40. So now what we are having is that we are in a try block, and a is equals to input the first number. Let's just input the first number, say 5. Let's just, alright, we have to say enter. Now we are in a second line. Now what we have to do, let's just write 2, and c is equals to a divided by b. That works perfectly fine. So we are just going to print the output. We are having 2.5. So let's just run this program again, and instead of going line by line, what we are going to do is that 5, enter, and then we are going to divide it by 0. So this will raise an error, but see, we got no output over here. Why is that? Because we just defined a file called testlogs.txt that is going to store all the errors that are having priority more than 40. Let's just go to our test logs and see here we are having an error, that is root, and it is saying that division by 0. It is telling us that the error is in line 4 in the module, and it is a 0 division error with a comment of division by 0. So this is how exceptions are being logged in Python. And for a application, logging is very essential. Suppose you are doing something that providing user with some editable context or some more and more liberty for the user to use, then it should have logs, and these logs should be maintained. So this is how logs are maintained, and all the Python is working. I am seriously like, I never knew all these things, and while making this video. I learned a lot of new things. I hope you guys also learned a lot of new things. And next up we are going to have file handling. We are going to have some more videos for probably a week. What I will try to do is that start a machine learning playlist by 2 weeks after today. And also I'm going to do a Flask tutorial reading all the documentation, and will be a walkthrough of documentation as well as making an application using documentation. This is something that I will be doing for the first time, so I'm pretty excited to do that as well. So that's it for this video. See you guys in the next video. Till then, stay safe, keep coding. Yep. Mic drop.